Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I forgot what I was going to say.
Abiding Farmhouse.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Abiding Farmhouse. I'm glad you're here today. Instead of doing like a day in the life vlog like I normally do, I'm sitting down to answer all your questions. On the community tab, I asked if any of y'all had any questions for us because it's been a long time since we sat down together and did one of these Q&As. I think it's been probably close to a year. I think I've done one by myself in between, but Josh hasn't been on one in a while. So we're going to answer some questions today. But first of all, if you're brand new to my channel, my name is Shasta. This is Josh. Here on this channel, I just love to share my passion for Christ, homeschooling, homemaking, day in life vlogs. We have 9 girls, ages ranging all the way from almost 2, Millie will be 2 July 28th, up to 17 years old. So they're all in between, but we're going to get started on answering some of these questions. Alright, the first question says, are any of your girls left-handed? So far, out of 9 girls, we only have one that's left-handed. That's Holly. She's our girl number 4. So far, Millie's not showing any signs of being left-handed. Everybody else is right-handed, but Holly writes with her left hand. She does everything with her left hand. She said it actually feels weird to even use her right hand like everybody else. So she's my only left-handed child, and we're both right-handed. The next question says, how old and names of all of your girls? I've had several people ask this, so I'll just start from my oldest and go down. So Kylie is 17. Allie is 15, Emily is 13, Holly is 10, Amy is 8, Bethany is 7, and then there's Natalie, she is 5, Everly is 4, and Millie is almost 2. So the biggest gap in there is between Emily and Holly. They are exactly 3 years apart. Everybody else is 2 years or closer. Next question says, my question is, how did you come up with the name for your channel? So before I actually started getting really serious about YouTube, I would go back and forth on names. I had several different names before Abiding Farmhouse. And then when I decided to get serious about it, I was just praying about a name and praying about YouTube. I just feel like the Lord gave me that name. Just one evening I was like, Abiding Farmhouse, and that's just kind of stuck, and that's what we've been using. I've actually considered changing it from Abiding Farmhouse, so I just go back and forth. I don't know if people know what to expect with Abiding Farmhouse because it's like a family vlogging channel, but I don't know. It's been working for so long, I don't know if I'll change it or not. Next question says, do you have emergency food preps? We have a few things, I guess, not really much at all. We've talked about maybe doing that before, but we don't have like a huge stock of anything at all. We just pretty much get what we need as it's needed. And
I mean, we got a freezer in the basement, storage that we keep food in, and we got a refrigerator in the garage we keep food in. So I mean, we got a good bit, you know, but it takes a good bit too. So I'd say we probably got a couple weeks worth.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The next question says, how do you guys handle a disagreement? Do you want to answer that one?
I mean, sometimes the best thing to do is just walk away and pray and come back when emotions aren't high and talk through it and apologize even when you're not wrong. Just apologize.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't disagree on a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, we don't really disagree much.
I'm pretty easygoing, and
we don't have any disagreements.
Sometimes we do, but if we do, I'm the kind of person that I like to just kind of shut down and be quiet and then just brush it under the rug and get over it. But he likes to talk about things more, and I guess that's the difference.
Well, it's not that I like to talk about things. I think it's necessary to, you know, not let the sun go down on your wrath and get through it and move on.
I'd rather just be mad and then get over
and
it
let
and
it
move
go
on
away.
about my life.
But it don't go away.
Yeah.
It don't go away like that.
All right. So the next question says, is your husband still pastoring his own church? So we haven't said anything about this on YouTube. We've had so many questions. I've just kind of, I don't know, I just haven't answered any of them. But as of right now, at this moment, we are not pastoring. Actually, in January we have took a break from that and just kind of prayed and seek the Lord's will on where we should be and what we should do. And as of right now, we feel called back to the church that we were at to pastor there. So yes, he will be appointed back to that church this week,
August.
right?
Yeah,
well,
first week in August.
Appointments are this week, but
yeah.
He'll start back pastoring the first week of August. So yes, we will still be pastoring
We just wanted
church.
to make sure that we were in the will of God. We wanted to make sure that flesh was out of the way and that we were where God would have us to be. We want to be really sure about that.
All right, next question says, are both of you guys, mom and dad, still married? I have heard you mention your dad, but no one else. How many siblings do you both have? Are y'all close with your parents and siblings? So I'll start with me. My parents are still married. They've been married for, let's see, I am 37 years old, so they've been married for 38 years. And they do live close by. I see my dad more than I do my mom, so that's probably why I talk about him more. He just, I don't know, we just see him more than we do my mom. It's hard for my mom to get out a lot. So anyway, yes, my parents are still married, and I'll let you answer your own question.
Well, my parents divorced when I was 12 years old. And so my dad passed away in 2017. And my mom still lives, but we do not see her very often. She lives a good ways away from us.
All right, next question says, do you still have goats? Just recently, we sold all of our goats except for one. We're trying to sell her. She's pregnant. But that's kind of why we got the goats anyway. We're going to breed some and sell them. So as of right now, we only have one goat left. Next question says, did you and Josh grow up in big families? We did not. I had one brother, one sister, one brother and one sister for him too. So we came from a family of just 3 children, and my sister and I are actually 8 years apart. So kind of space there. My brother and I were close in age, but my sister's 8 years younger than I am. All right, the next one says, beautiful family, what is your go-to verse in the Bible? I have so many. Right now, it's like a whole Psalms that I'm loving. It's Psalms 91, and I'm just trying to work on that and memorize that. I can't recite it right now, so you'll have to look it up, but I love Psalms 91 right now. What about you?
It's seasonal. My go-to verse changes weekly, daily, monthly.
Sometimes mine changes too, but one of my favorites, like has been my favorite for years, is Philippians chapter 3, verses 12 through 14. That's a really good one too. The next question says, do you have a rhythm or schedule to your schooling? Yes, not exactly like a by the hour schedule, just because that can't happen with toddlers and little kids. But we do have a flow to our school. Everybody kind of knows their routine and what's expected through the school year. Even through the summer, I feel like we still have somewhat of like a routine that the kids stick with. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, nap times, bedtime. They do get to stay up a little bit later in the summer, but we just have like a flow to the day, I guess you could say, rather than like an hourly schedule. Like we don't stick to something by the hour. All right, the next one says budgeting in a marriage, especially on one income. So our income has changed through the years. It was a lot different years ago, and we had a very, very strict budget that we had to stick by. Not saying that we don't budget now, but I look for things that are still on sale. I still consignment store shop. I still look for the best deals. Grocery store, I'll compare prices. I try to get the best deals everywhere, and we don't like go overboard. Like we don't take extravagant vacations, and I don't know.
We put ourselves on a salary, and we know what we have to spend, and we know what we want to save. And she's been doing it for so long. She just knows. She just knows what we got, and she knows what it's going to take, and she knows what we need to have left over, and it just works. Biggest tip I would say is communication. You know, if you don't have a strict budget to go by, then you have to communicate. But it works. You know, what we do works for us. It has been working for years. So, but I do remember the days. Not to say we have plenty of money by any means. I'm just saying I think that comes with experience. You know what you have to work with, and a budget's fluid. You know, a budget changes. You have things that pop up. You have things, and with the economy and inflation and things so expensive right now, you just really never know. So I think using wisdom
And talking about what you can do and you can't do, and just...
Sometimes that works better than a rigid budget. Because sometimes if you set yourself up for a rigid budget, you're going to be disappointed because it's rarely going to work out the way you think. Especially with a large family. Something always comes up.
Yeah.
Always.
And with doing YouTube now, it started out as a hobby for me, but it does bring in some income, which is kind of like, you know, extra spending money, you know, or things like that. So, little things like that helps too. The next part of that was any tips for kids' schedules with large families, bedtimes, wake-up times, meal times. I would just say just stick to it, consistency, because the kids know when they wake up, like they're ready for breakfast right then. And they've been so used to getting up at the same time through the school year that they just automatically wake up at that time. Like, Millie has become my alarm clock, so my body automatically wakes me up at a certain time every morning. And then lunchtime, they know that's anywhere between 11 and 12 o'clock. They can expect lunch. And then meal times are always the same time, anywhere between 5 and 6:30. And then school, during the school year, bedtime is at 8. It's later for my teenagers, of course, but bedtime's at 8 for my little kids. Through the summer, like I said, it's later than that, but just finding what works for your family and just sticking with that, unless, you know, you have something to come up or something like that. The next question is from Tiffany over at Our Small Town Life. Tiffany actually has a YouTube channel. A lot of you probably already follow her, but if you don't, go check her out. I'll link her down below. But she said, are you still using your freeze dryer? Is it something you would recommend to others? So we tried out a freeze dryer, like over a year ago?
Yeah.
It was not beneficial for us. It would be beneficial to someone who gets like a lot of produce. If you get in like lots of crops and lots of things that you want to preserve and save, then I would say it's worth it. But if you're someone like us that does not get like in big harvests and you don't have a lot to freeze dry, then it's not worth it. Thankfully, we were able to sell ours. But yeah, and it takes a lot of time to do, so make sure you got a lot of time in your day, because you need to watch that freeze dryer. Like if something's there for 24 hours, you don't need to leave it in there any longer. There could be spills in it. There's a lot that goes on with it that is not told on YouTube and different things, so just make sure you have the time. It's a big deal.
It's a big initial upfront cost, and then buying the stuff to store the food, and you know, if that's your goal, is to establish a very long shelf life, long-term storage food, then yeah, that's really the only way to go. But you know, you got to buy the food if you don't grow it yourself. There's a lot to it. For us, it wasn't all that. It wasn't what we thought it would be.
Alright, the next question says, I know it's been asked about before, but I figured it's just around the corner for your older girls, dating, courtship, marriage, and he talks on that lately. So our oldest daughter actually has a boyfriend right now. She's the only one. But it's going to be the same for all of our kids, no exceptions, that when they do begin to date, that they do have to have a sibling there with them. If they're going out, we have to trust the person that they're dating. We have to get to know them first before we let them date. It's not like our girls can just say, hey, we've got a boyfriend, and they go out with them. It's not like that here. We have to get to know the person, and then, for example, her boyfriend has been coming to our house a lot and having dinner with us and things. So getting to know the person and who they are, and then also just for that accountability, having, you know, a third wheel there. Just, you know, wherever they go, if they go out somewhere. So anyway, that's just kind of how we handle things.
As far as talks go, I think talks are important. I think you need to stay updated and stay in the loop as to what's going on with your kids, especially during that time.
And then she said, do you think it would be much different with 9 boys? I don't know, because I have no idea what it's like to have a boy.
Yeah. I'm sure there's other things to be concerned about. Yeah, I feel like I'd have
certain rules still for them as well, but I don't know because I don't have a boy. Vacations with kids, ideas, tips, and budgeting. So our favorite places have been Great Wolf Lodge. That's not terribly expensive, and the kids have an absolute blast. You get to stay at the place the whole time. They have meals there. They have the water park there. They have story time at night there. It's just so much fun for the kids. We even enjoyed it. And then another one of our favorite places to go is Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I love going there. And then Edisto Beach. Those are probably the top 3 family-friendly places to go. What was the other part of that? So I have some ideas. as far as budgeting, like a lot of times we'll make our breakfast wherever we go, sometimes our lunch, and then just eat out dinner. That way we can eat out somewhere nice at dinner instead of having to buy 3 meals a day while you're on vacation. Because we went to Pigeon Forge last time, we had all of our breakfast at the room. You know, we just made eggs and cereal and things like that.
Because our size family, so we always have a full kitchen and we'll cook breakfast. And it's more convenient too, because you don't have to get out and beat the crowd. But as far as budgeting goes, you know, you can just set a little bit aside.
And one thing that we always do on vacation, we don't go and like do a lot of shopping at all, but we do try to get the girls a little souvenir of some kind to take home. But we just do things like, what do we do?
We sightsee and do, you know, just little attractions, stuff that we can all do as a family.
Yeah.
I mean, we mix it up. We like to go out to eat. We like to, you know, see the attractions, and just depends on where we're at. That's why we like Great Wolf Lodge. Everything is there. You can do everything under one roof. It's simple. It's easy.
All right, the next one says, when your children finished the 12th grade, did they have a GED or did they get a diploma? They will get a diploma. All right, the next one says, how do you handle when the kids argue? Do you let them handle it or have specific ways to handle it? Most of the time, I like to let them handle it on their own to see if they can work it out, because I don't want to butt in every time they have an argument and then they not know how to resolve conflict on their own. So a lot of times I'll just let them argue it out unless it's just too much and they just really start fighting or hitting each other. Then I come in or somebody and break it up.
Yeah.
Next one says, have you still got your puppy? You're talking about Belle. I mentioned this several times, but we do not have Belle anymore. One of my really good friends has her, and you actually can still see her because she has a YouTube channel as well. It's called The Nixon's Nook. I will link her channel down below. She always posts videos on there of her 2 little dogs, and Belle's on there, but her name is no longer Belle. She changed her name to Coco, and she has gotten so big. We actually had her over at our house all week this past week. So my daughter was pet sitting. She's so big now, so cute. All right, next one says, what is your family's favorite vacation spot? If we had to pick one of those 3 that I mentioned, it would probably be Tennessee for me. What do you think?
Yeah, Tennessee. We're mountain folks.
The next one says, have you ever worked outside the home, Shasta? If not, what would your dream job be? I have worked outside the home. When we first got married, I just had a few little jobs. I worked at a preschool, and then I worked at a convenience store. I worked at a restaurant before, so just little jobs here and there. So I am doing my dream job of being home with my girls and homeschooling. But if I did have to work outside the home, if I had to pick a job and I did have to work, it would definitely be a labor and delivery nurse. That's like right up my alley. That's where I would be if I had to work outside the home. I already told Josh before, I think I have a Google degree anyway, because anytime the girls are sick or something happens, I always Google it, and I feel like I have educated myself so much through Google that I know a lot of medical terms, a lot of medical things, and can kind of sometimes even diagnose them.
In my head.
All right, y'all, it's a while later now. So Josh and I were in the middle of those questions and my battery completely died. So I had to go downstairs, charge my camera up for a while, and Millie's now awake. So he is downstairs with Millie since she's awake. So I'm going to finish out these last few questions by myself, which I don't think there's very many left. All right, so the next question says, how do y'all find the energy to prioritize each other after all the demands the both of you carry? Let me know your secret. So I feel like the time that we can really find for each other just to communicate and talk is usually in the evenings when the kids go to bed. We're able to just hang out and kind of chill and just talk to each other about the day. And then we also try to make it a priority to have a date night. At least, it don't always happen, but once a month, sometimes every 2 months. We like to have a date night where we just go out and eat together, maybe go get ice cream, something like that, and that gives us one-on-one time with no interruptions, just to talk and just to chat. So that's kind of how we do it. I know everybody's different. I know there's some people that both spouses work a job, or one works 3rd shift, one works 1st shift, and you really can't see each other. So I would just say, when you do find that little bit of time, make it count. Really talk to each other. Try your best to set like a time aside, even if you don't leave the house, but just have an evening just to talk, just the 2 of you. Just trying your best to find that time, even if it's once a month. Just do your best to find some kind of time. Next one says, I love your channel. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. How do you and your husband handle non-school related screen time and choosing appropriate shows and movies? So non-related screen time. So since our children were little, we have always made it to where they know inappropriate shows. They know things that are not pleasing to the Lord. So everything that we do, we want to honor God in, and that includes our TV shows, what we listen to, what we watch. Everything needs to honor the Lord and what we do. So since my older girls were little, we have always taught them that, you know, we honor the Lord first in all that we do, and to be careful what we watch, what we hear. So we try to really keep a watch on that. And now that my teens are older, they know that for themselves. Like, we don't always have to correct them on things that they watch, because they can turn on a show, and if they see, you know, there's something in there that is not appropriate, that is not pleasing to the Lord, they now have the Holy Spirit living within them that can tell them, you know, discern, this isn't right, I don't need to watch this. And for my little kids, we are just setting up that same thing of, you know, we put the Lord first, we want to honor him in all that we do. Everybody has those boundaries of, you know, we know what we can and we can't watch. And my little kids, they have certain shows that they love. They love Paw Patrol and Bluey. I'm trying to think of some other ones I really like. We like turning on Superbook sometimes and watching that. My older girls have certain TV shows that they love to watch. So yeah, we just try to do all things that are appropriate. And Josh and I don't do anything that we wouldn't let our kids do. Like, if we're not going to let them watch something, we don't watch it either. You know, it's just putting the Lord first in everything. As far as like getting a handle on the screen time, it's kind of hard to get my little kids to sit down during the day and watch a movie anyway, because sometimes I'm literally, they play so hard, which is a really good thing. I love that they play, but sometimes I'm like, can y'all just sit down and maybe watch a movie while I get some stuff done? And sometimes I feel like they're just like, oh, we don't want to sit down and watch a movie. I mean, they'd rather be out doing, but sometimes I just need them to just kind of sit down and chill just for a few minutes so I can get some stuff done. So I really don't have to worry about that a whole lot with screen time with them, because they're not the kids that just want to sit down and like watch movies all day long and things like that. So I really don't have to worry about that. Next one says, what is your family's favorite meal that you cook? I think there's several that they really enjoy. I'm trying to think one that really stands out. My taco soup, that's a big hit when I cook that. My kids love that. Or chicken tacos, they really like that when I make that. I'm trying to think if there's something I'm missing. They really love when I make my homemade bread or my homemade rolls. They love that too. So the next question is from Rocky Mountain Homestead with Angela. I love watching Angela and her channel. She also has a YouTube channel that I'm going to link down below for y'all so y'all can check her out. She's awesome. She's a mom of 8. She's a homeschooling mom. So you have to go check her out. But she said, what are your thoughts on having more children with the times that we are living in? And if you live in this world, you know that we live in crazy times. Like, it's like not getting any better. It's getting worse, I feel like. But the one thing is that we do have hope in the Lord. We have hope in Jesus. We know that one day the Lord will return and rescue us from all of this mess. If you're one of his children and you are living for him, then we have hope in that. But until then, we have to live here. For our family, we do not mind bringing more children into the world, because if the Lord sees fit to have more, then for us to have more, then we will have more, because we know that we can trust in him, and knowing that our children can be a light in this dark world, because there's so much dark out there that we need to raise our children to be a light in this dark world, and to share the gospel and to share the good news and to be a light to others. So personally, I don't mind bringing more children into the world if the Lord sees fit to give us more. I would love to have more, but I know every family is different. Everybody has their own opinion. So I guess that would just be something that every family would have to decide for themselves, if they want more children or if they don't, or just, you know, I would just say pray about it. Pray about it and let the Lord guide you on that. All right, this one says, which daughter reminds you the most of yourself? Which daughter reminds you most of Josh? So that's a hard one since we have 9 girls. We have several daughters, I feel like, that are a good mix between Josh and I. I guess if I had to pick the 2 that are most like me, are probably Kylie and Holly. Kylie being the oldest, she just takes on like the responsibility of the oldest. I was also an oldest child, so I did the same thing. I was very responsible. And then with Holly, she just gets her little sassiness from me. I don't know. I love, you know, all the girly things, the earrings, the lip gloss, doing my hair, like, and she is my girliest girl. So I feel like she gets that from me a lot. So I guess those 2, but each girl has a special place, and you know, reminds me of myself or reminds me of Josh. And I guess the ones that remind me more of Josh would probably be Allie and Emily. They're more like kind of the outspoken ones, and I don't know, they're not so much as an introvert like me and some of my girls are. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. But Josh is more of an extrovert and can talk to people, and they can talk to people, and not quite as shy. I don't know, we have some girls that are really shy like me, and then we have some that are really outspoken. So, but each and every girl, we can find something in them that remind us of ourselves. All right, the next question says, how do you avoid becoming overwhelmed between homeschooling, taking care of children, cooking, cleaning, everything? You just seem to juggle it all so well. So thank you for that, but what you see is just little clips here on YouTube, and of course anybody that has a YouTube channel or any kind of social media platform, we're going to show you the best of our lives. Normally we're not just going to take you along and show you all the bad and all the overwhelming things, but I'm human. I get overwhelmed. I feel like every few months I don't know, I just get so overwhelmed. I just have to cry it out. Like, I just cry, and then I pray, and then maybe I'll go out for like an hour or so by myself and just a refresher, and then I'm fine. Like, I'm over it. So I think everybody gets overwhelmed, but I would say to avoid getting that way is prayer, staying in the Word, and knowing that seasons are short. Like, now that I have teenagers, I have realized how sweet, like really how sweet time is, and how fast it truly does fly by. I remember when my 17-year-old was just a baby and they would tell me it was going to fly by, but I felt like it was going to last forever. I just felt like there was no way it was going to fly by because the days felt so long. But now that I'm sitting here, like, I'm like, where did the time go? Like, literally, where did it go? So yeah, I try to remember that. I try to remember how blessed we are, how grateful I am for children, and just remembering like the blessing that they truly are and how sweet the time is that we have with them. And that really, so just a heart of thankfulness and contentment, I think, helps with not being so overwhelmed with everything. Like, instead of saying, oh gosh, I've got to homeschool today, saying, thank you, Lord, I have the opportunity to homeschool my children, or I have to clean this. Thank you, Lord, that I have this to clean. You know, kid makes a mess. I need to preach this to myself, but, you know, not complaining about it, but Lord, thank you that I have a child to clean up after. Things like that really changes our mind and our perspective. But trust me, I do have days of being overwhelmed. You ask my husband, you ask my kids, days that I lose my cool. We all have those days, but just trying to have a different mindset on the things that we do daily really does help. And staying in the Word and just leaning on Jesus, that is my answer. So anyway, that is all the questions that I had. So I feel like last time I had more questions, but I did post over on Instagram and my YouTube community channel, so maybe that's why I didn't ask on Instagram this time. I just asked on YouTube, so maybe next time I'll ask both places. So I thank y'all for hanging out with us. I thank you for asking the questions, and I hope that I answered all of your questions that you had. If you are brand new to my channel, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button down below. Stick around, hang out with us, become part of our YouTube family, give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you in the comments. Bye, y'all.